Let me check and make sure. Ending, ending. Is it doing it? Don't see it.
Leave everything over there. Okay.
It does say live. Hello, hello. Anyone here? Oh, there it is. All
Hi.
right. We on. All right. Awesome. So, hi everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in for our latest Pass the Mic. Today we have Jasmine, and she
Hello.
is a fellow Spoonie. So she has a chronic illness, but also she's a snowflake. So she also has myasthenia gravis like me. And we're just going to get into her story. Her written interview actually went live on the blog today. So if you have not had a chance to check it out, head on over, read about it. But we'll go ahead and cover some of those same topics just to give y'all a little preview. But yes, so welcome, Jasmine.
Hi. Hi.
My aunt says she's driving. um, so let's see. We can start with icebreaker. Okay.
Good.
If you could create any holiday, what would you create?
Hey, any holiday. It would have to be something around. I know Halloween is there, but it have to be something around Halloween. But it would be my own personal, I guess, Halloween day. Something around there with pumpkin. Maybe it would be called Pumpkin Day, I guess,
Oh, you're a pumpkin lover?
because I love Halloween. So it would be something around there.
I love fall. I don't think I love pumpkin. Are you like a pumpkin spice lover or just you just like
I like. I think I like pumpkin pie, but not so much like pumpkin spice. I like pumpkin pie though. No, that's good.
pie? No, sweet
Hmm.
potato pie. I've actually never had pumpkin pie, but I'm just team sweet potato.
Oh, you gotta try it, especially with whipped cream. It's good.
Really?
Hmm.
I don't know. It just maybe because it just looks so. I don't know. I may try
Right.
it one day. I've been getting a little bit more adventurous with my food choices lately as I've gotten older.
Right. Right.
Cool. All right. So next, we're going to get into our lovely Q&A session. Well, not Q&A, we're just talking about it. So when I was reading your diagnosis, like I thought I got diagnosed pretty quick because I took about 3, 4 months from when I started feeling symptoms to um, when I was diagnosed. But when I was reading your story, yours seemed like super quick. Like you went to the hospital and they immediately knew what was going on.
Hmm.
So talk about like if you want to talk about that a little bit more. So what exactly happened that triggered like, oh hey, I need to get seen, and who actually diagnosed you?
Well, just like a little brief short. What happened was I started having first I had droopy eyelid and it started happening like right around the summertime. And I could just remember like I was having a lot of stress during that time. I think I was like in school. I think I was dealing with a lot just in my marriage at the time. And then, I was also taking care of my stepson at the time. And it was just a lot going on, just stressors. So I can remember my droopy eyelid happening. Then I started getting double and blurry vision. So the sun started affecting my eyes real bad to the point where I couldn't see.
Okay.
So when I went to the hospital, they immediately, because I went to the VA hospital, so they immediately sent me in to go see an eye doctor, and they gave me like tens and thousands of tests, like up and down, left, right. I want you to look at everything. So then I think she was having a hard time trying to figure out what was wrong with me too. So I was just like, okay. So they sent me down to where I was supposed to sent me down to get an MRI. And I think I had like 8 different MRI tests. I was in there for like an hour, didn't even realize it. So that same day, because it became night, I didn't even get a result of what was going on till the next day. And like a team of doctors came in, they're all looking at me like I was a test subject or something. You know how they come in, like I'm telling you, like five doctors in a row at the bed, like we don't even know what's going on. So at first they told me I had MS.
Mm.
So I'm a little familiar. I was a little familiar with MS, and I was really scared. Like I was just like, okay, obviously this is not good. I'm kind of familiar, but I'm like, okay. So of course I broke down crying because I'm like, oh, I gotta deal with this. Is something I gotta deal with now. But they wanted me to get, now I can't exactly remember if I got my lumbar puncture, or I don't think that was until after or before, but I think I got some blood work in between all of that. But the
Okay.
next day is when they came in and they told me, it was like, well, no, I'm sorry. It was the MRI that proved I didn't have MS because they looked at my brain scans.
Mm.
So they said, well, we don't think you have MS. We think you have MG because that was more, my symptoms were more closer to MG. And it was then when I got like the lumbar puncture, the blood work, and the CT scans. And that confirmed all of that.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
interesting. So yeah, I think it's awesome that yours was kind of like instant. Yours is probably like the first case I've ever heard of where they kind of, even though they might have they say MS initially, it wasn't like months and years. Like they pretty much like, okay, that's not it. So that's pretty dope. So at the time, were you like in reserve or anything, or you just knew that you needed to go to VA hospital? Just that's where you normally go for your treatment.
No, that's where I normally go for my treatment. When I got out, they give you like, I got a rating. So when you get a rating in the like in the army, you basically get out on an honorable discharge. You can go to any like VA hospital for care. So that's where I would normally go for my care because I have other injuries, like
Mhm.
because I got out for my ankle because I
Okay.
had 2 surgeries on my ankle. So I have like different issues with my body from the army. So they just took care of me there. And I was just so thankful. I wish I can, I know it sounds so bad. I wish I can remember that doctor's name, but he was so sweet. And he's the one that diagnosed me. I have a letter in there somewhere. I can't remember his name, but he was so sweet.
Aw. Was it a black doctor or no?
No, he was a white doctor. He was young though. He was young. He was super young.
I think that's and when were you diagnosed?
2018.
18, so pretty recently. So
Mm-hmm.
I went during I think it was one of my trips to like urgent care, not for MD related, but I would think I had like a sinus infection or something like that. And so I'm just giving them a heads up, like, hey, I have MG. It's a whole list of medications you cannot give me. And the guy was like, oh, really? I read about that in my textbook, but you're like the first person I met with this. So I think that they are starting to teach people more about it or at least cover it in like medical school or whatever. So that's pretty cool that the doctor
Yeah,
knew.
I like that too. I like that too. Glad.
Yeah, mine did not at all. Okay. Um, so you and I we talked a little bit about your thymectomy, but you can share with everyone else just about like the process. So you were diagnosed. How long between you being diagnosed did you actually go about getting your surgery, and why did you decide to make that decision? Was it like the only choice, or you were just like, let's try it?
Between I got diagnosed in July of 2018, and I had my surgery in December 2018, and I did not have a choice. Because when I got into the CT scan, they found something called a thynoma, and about, I believe it's between 20% to 30% people with myasthenia have thynomas. So I just happen to be one of those ungraded, like lucky individuals. So um, it took a while to kind of get to the surgeon, and he wanted to do all these different tests. He wanted to make sure I was healthy. I had to get IVIG to
Mhm.
get strong. um, all of that had to happen, and before the surgery even occurred, he wanted to, because they thought they saw nodules in my breast and all of that.
Wow.
So um, and because of the placement of the thynoma that we talked about, it was near my heart. So
Mhm.
I had to have somebody on call for that to make sure that they didn't have to, crack the sternum. So, and I got a robotic thymectomy. So that was really probably one of the scariest moments of my life. Like really one of the scariest moments of my life. I do a lot of praying.
I can imagine I did it as well, so I definitely can relate. Um, but mine was actually a choice. So let me see. I was diagnosed in May, and in December I had my surgery. Because I think right around like the October November timeframe, they had released like a publication saying we've seen better results with the sooner you get the thymectomy, the better your results are, and going into possibly a remission, that type of stuff. So my specialist, I love my specialist. He was like, "Ain't no point in waiting. Let's go ahead and get this done."
Right.
And I know a bunch of people are like my family. They're like, "Are you sure it's surgery?" And just pray on it. And I was like, I mean, at that point, I was doing I think I was probably taking over 20 pills a day. And I was like, if I can do anything to like lower this or kind of knock it out, I want to try it. Like, what's the worst that happened? They cut me open and it didn't work, but at least I tried. So yeah, so I've done the IVIG. It did not really work for me though. I was doing aggressively. I was there once a week, and it just like, and the weird part was, I don't know if my body just didn't particularly care for it, but every time I got a treatment, I ended up with an infection, and I was in the emergency room.
Yeah.
Like it just didn't. My body was just like, girl, no.
Right. Rejecting it. Yeah.
Yeah, and the prednisone and the
Oh.
methadone and the cell sap, and it was like a lot because some pills you take with food, some pills you have to take on an empty stomach, some pills you have to take multiple times a day. It's like it's so overwhelming. So when I was reading, you take a whole bunch of medication that I never even heard of. As far as all
Hmm.
those for MD treatments, or some of them for other issues.
Some of them are for other issues, but mainly kind of related to myasthenia.
Mm-hmm.
The main ones are obviously Mestinon is like our main one, and then prednisone, which is the devil.
Yes.
Um, and then I take tacrolimus. And then I have, what else do I have? I'm trying to think. It's so many. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and what is the tacrolimus for? That's for another.
Tacrolimus is kind of like your prednisone. Yeah, it's like a immunosuppressant, I believe. But they use it
Okay.
for like kidney, like to help with if you get a kidney transplant. And I get that
Mhm.
question all the time. Did you get a kidney transplant? Like, no. I just take it because for my myasthenia. But those are like my main ones. And then obviously, sometimes with myasthenia, you get your whole anxiety and depression situation. So I take stuff for that, for like bupropion and stuff, and just a rainbow of other things for like my muscles and stuff like that. And I do IVIG every 3 weeks still. So
Okay. You got
yeah.
full plate.
It's a full time job, as you would know. We like taking care of ourselves is a full time job.
Basically, and people don't realize it. Like, I can't. Got a lot going on. So I know you mentioned before that like stress, you feel so do you feel like stress kind of like triggered your symptoms, or do you feel like it was kind of all like, can you recall ever having like symptoms before that and kind of like ignoring it? Or do you really feel like just like the stress and the overwhelming, just dealing with everything that was going on really kind of just pushed it to come to surface?
Yeah. I remember in 2016, I remember I was traveling like back and forth out of the country. And I remember I was just always really tired. And I just could not figure out why. Because I remember calling home to my mom and I was just like, I'm always tired. Every time I wake up, I would just still be sleepy. But I never paid any attention. I thought because I have anemia too. And I just never paid any attention. But then I do believe that stress does play a big factor in it because stress is the reason that I think this whole thing started. But then also the thing about it is my uncle has MG as well, and then
Hmm.
somebody else in my family has MG. So
That's interesting. So my specialist, and the thing about these doctors is they always say no until there's something that proves yes. He was
mhm.
like, "Oh, MG is not genetic, and it's not this, and it's not that." But you're saying that several people in your family actually have it. That's
Mhm.
were they
And
already diagnosed before you were, or were they diagnosed after? Okay.
they were diagnosed before I was, and I didn't know he had it for like the longest time. And he actually had a thyroidectomy too. And it wasn't until I got diagnosed that I was like, really? I was like, why I skip everybody else and come to me? Like, I was so mad. So, but yeah, my uncle has MG. I don't know, it's weird. I was just like, but they do. I've heard that before too. I'm just like, y'all say it's not genetic, but it might be something. They might need to test it to find out.
Yeah, I know. I was doing research and they said that like when a mom has MD, she can pass it on to like their kids like during childbirth, but it's just temporary. So the baby might
Yeah.
have MD for like 12 hours after birth and then it's supposed to go away. And I'm like, well, how does theirs go away?
And this don't go away.
Like, what is happening? Like, no, I don't think it goes away. I think it's just less noticeable,
It
you know.
sticks with you.
Yeah. Um, but so yeah, the stress. So what have you kind of like implemented, or how are you managing like the stress? Because even though you can say, okay, I'm going to try to relax more and I'm going to take it easy, but in fact, having a chronic illness is stressful. Like, because like
Hmm.
we said, you got to manage all these things, and you have to kind of curtail your lifestyle, and you got to watch what you do and what you eat and different things. So what kind of things have you put in place to kind of manage your stress, and how is it working for you? What didn't work? Anything you can give on that?
I try to implement a lot of things, but sometimes it doesn't work out for me because I'm not a meditation kind of girl. I try to sit there and try to, but my brain just like whirls back and forth all the time. I have tried to eat a lot better because I was 230 pounds pregnant. So
Yes,
I had to change my diet. Yeah, it was bad. So I had to change the way I ate. And then, sometimes I just try to spend a lot of time, try to be by myself sometimes and think and try to like take a breather and, away from the world, shut off everything and just don't really like, you know, communicate like that. And I know that's like a bad thing sometimes, but sometimes you need that kind of quiet space to yourself. And I take a lot of baths. Some people know this about me, but I take a lot of baths. I don't know why, I just do. Water calms me, it just does. So that helps a lot. Um, I still move fast, which I know I shouldn't, but I can't help it. I do like 50 million thousand things at once, but it kind of helps a little bit though. I feel
yeah,
normal.
just keep your mind off of everything that's happening. So I can agree
Hmm.
with that. So a little personal, and if you don't want to talk about it, you don't have to. You mentioned the things that are happening with your marriage and stuff like that. So can you kind of give, I guess, words of encouragement or discuss to other people who may have a partner that um, isn't, I guess, the most supportive in having like a high health crisis situation, and like how to kind of navigate those waters?
Knowing what I know now and what I didn't know back then is that when it comes to, I guess, chronic illness and having somebody in your life, I feel like that person definitely has to be more involved in what's going on with you and wanting to ask more questions and, wanting to get to know because it is a part of you. So if that person really doesn't want to know too much about it, then that's not the person for you, in my personal opinion. Because I've had some people ask me, what kind of medication is that? Because we're constantly taking, well, medications throughout the day. So it's like, what are you taking or, what's going on with you? Because what if something happens to me throughout the day? How are you going to react? You
Right,
know? So that person really has to be in tune with who you are, and not panic. Because you have some people that will panic and
very true.
say, because I've fallen out before. My limbs have gone weak to the point where I can't feed myself. So that person has to like really be there for you, good, bad, ugly, and different. So
I agree. That's really,
yeah,
really good advice.
yeah,
So, and I struggle with that. So, how good are you at taking help?
not very good. Nope, I don't ask for it. I don't. I try not to ask for. I would do everything on my own. Like I don't know. I'm kind of like my mom. I would do everything on my own. Like I don't like asking for help like that. Like I would literally crawl on the floor before I ask for help. But I'm just like, there's sometimes though that you have to ask. Like I can't do this today. I know you saw me looking like this yesterday, but tomorrow I might not look like that. You know, so
Yeah,
you might need to, gotta understand that some days.
I definitely am still working on just like the balance of like, hey, asking for help, but still feeling like I'm maintaining my independence. And I don't think people really understand that because when you feel like you don't even have control over like your body, something that you should be able to control, you want to kind of control the various aspects that you can, and you don't want to lose that independence or feel like you have to depend on everybody else to do everything for you. So it's a balancing act that I don't know if I'm ever going to master, but
Right.
I'm trying. I'm definitely trying. So what about like your other relationships and like your friends and your family? So I know your family is familiar with MD, so I'm sure your family is probably like, it's just another day in the household, like they're used to it. But like your friends and stuff, how do you go about like sharing the news with them? How were they receptive? Did your relationships kind of change?
Well, most of my friends are scattered now, but my best friend, she's kind of sensitive, but I love her for that. She was like checking on me like every 5 minutes, and then most of my other friends, they're very like receptive. We all got like the same name, so literally, both of my friends' names is Jasmine and Jasmine.
Oh,
Weird, but and then my male best friend Josh, he's like away in California, but they were all like very receptive to the news. They were always there for me, always have been there for me. So, anything I'm going through, I think they feel like they're going through. So, they try to help me in the best way that they can, and be there for me as much as they can, no matter how far they are. So, that much I can appreciate about them, and I've always tried to keep them like closest to me, you know. And
right.
then, other people that are in my life that I, care about, I appreciate them. It's just too many people. It's a wide range, rainbow that, they're so like, I can't even explain. I'm not gonna cry about it, but I can't explain it.
That's awesome because, I look in just the different like support group chats like on Facebook and stuff, and
Hmm.
so many people, like women, because I'm in a couple of female groups, and they just talk about how their family and their friends are just unsupportive and just they tell some really, really nasty stories.
Oh
And I'm like,
yeah,
who are these friends that you've had for the past however? Like, it's crazy how something like chronic illness, yes, it changes your life, but you don't really think about like the full spectrum of everything that it's going to impact, like even down to like your relationships and stuff like that. Um, Okay, why hadn't done that? Okay, on to some amazing news. You are working on that PhD.
hmm, I'm
So
tired.
let's talk about it. I have secretly wanted to get a PhD. I just don't know in what. So what are you getting your PhD in?
It's in industrial organizational psychology.
Oh, that
So
sounds
that's like, oh God, it's like the study of the workplace. So basically, I like go behind the scenes and try to help individuals, like employees, employers, all those people, help people in the workplace. So right now, we're in high demand right now because of like working from home, work life balance, all of that.
mm-hmm.
So individuals like yourself, like I'm doing my dissertation is going to be on African American female entrepreneurs work life balance. So you would probably be somebody I would probably want to talk to about that because you're an
I'd love
entrepreneur.
to. Yes, I'll definitely am willing to help you on this. I just love that. I always ask people like, okay, what are you accomplishing? Because we lose so much, but we can still do so much. And like, you're inspiring me. I still don't know if I'm going to get a PhD because
Do it.
I have 2 degrees now that I do not adequately use. I'm going to be honest. So it's just like,
Yeah.
but I did also want to get a PhD. I just like the name of doctor in front of it.
You just like to hear your name, like That's why I said too, like when I was like when I got my master's, I was like, man, I'm trying to hear Dr. Jones. Like that's what I'm trying to hear. Like that's exactly what I'm trying to hear. But you know what? I'm not gonna lie to you, it's not easy, but just do it. Just get your foot in the door and just do it. Even if you might not use it, you might use it in some way. But at least
Yeah,
you'll hear doctor in front of your name.
that's what I was thinking. I was like, I'm still young enough, and I've already been working since I was 17. So like, I have time, man. I was like, I can retire and get a second career as like a teacher or something with my doctorate.
Hmm.
I don't know, but maybe the sky's basically the limit. But that's super dope. I'm super proud of you, and you're
Yeah.
inspiring me. I'm sure you're going to inspire other people as well to hopefully pursue something that they really, really wanted to do. Um, let's see. Oh, and for those of you who don't know, Jasmine is also a tribe leader for Autoimmune Sisters. Do you want to talk about that and your work that you do there and your interest and how you got to become a tribe leader?
Yes. So we have autoimmune sisters. It's basically like an environment or a community where we help individuals who have autoimmunes like ourselves, and it's just a wide range of autoimmunes. And myasthenia just so happens to be one of them. And I came upon Amy. She's the leader of it. And she basically founded Autoimmune Sisters back when I got diagnosed. So, literally October of 2018. So I was looking for a community and basically like some people to talk to that were like me, and she's like one of the first people to share my story. So after that, I just became a part of the community, and I pretty much haven't left since. I love it. It's a great sisterhood. Going through some changes right now with everything going on in the world, and I just I like talking to people, and I like sharing my story, hearing their story, like connecting with all types of women and men, even if meet them from time to time. That's how I kind of came in contact. I believe with y'all too. It wasn't autoimmune sisters, but I think it was just through like myasthenia in general. But
Yeah.
I love the community. It's just another platform that we can each get connected on. That's what I love about it.
Yeah, that's dope. Like, it's very important. While our family and friends, like, they're supportive, it's important to have people that can kind of relate to how you're feeling, what you're going through, so you don't feel like a total outcast and nerd. Like,
Hmm.
somebody might not know what it's like to just collapse like Woody in real life. Like, but this is really
Right.
happening to me. Like, or just the other myriad of embarrassing things that happen. Like, I remember when I was first diagnosed, and I was having like droopy lid and I was having double vision, and the only thing that helped was my eye patch. But I hated that eye patch with a passion. Like, I never wanted to wear it. I was so embarrassed about that eye patch. And then I was like, okay, somebody else wearing the eye patch. I don't feel like such a spaz, even though I still hated it, but it made me feel less horrible that I have to wear it. Cause I'll tell you, this guy, he one time called me Pirate Steve, and it just hurt my little soul. I was like, that's not a funny joke,
Right.
real. Like, that's so insensitive to say. Um, so I like really enjoy, like, that's the whole basis of like my platform, is just giving people a community and like fostering relationships and letting us, support each other. So I love that. I'm actually a member. Well, I joined Autoimmune System Sisters, but I'm not that active, I'm gonna be honest, because it's a web app. It's not on the phone, so it's kind of not as easy to go in and, engage in the conversations. But I definitely want to get better at doing that and connecting with other sisters, because we all we got. We're not all we have,
We
but
want you there because I saw that because she told me I actually saw that you were there, and I was like, I know her. And
yeah,
I was just like, I'm gonna have to talk to her and ask her like what because I'll go around and ask people like, what's your expectation of like autoimmune sisters? Because your personality and just hearing about it would be something great to like talk to, and see.
yeah.
So I
I
like that.
definitely like I think it's someone named Nija. Does that sound familiar? Nija.
Yeah, Nigel.
Yeah. So I
Mm-hmm.
see those notifications in my email, but it's like to get on it from my phone, it's just really difficult. And then I can only do it when I'm at, like a computer and can kind of navigate a little better. But I definitely have that on my list of things to do. Like, hey, get more active in just all the communities. And not
Yeah.
necessarily because I want to drive traffic to my blog, but I just really want to connect and just empower other women because we need to be empowered. Um, one last thing for me, and then you guys, if you guys have any questions that you want to ask Jasmine, put it in the chat and I can ask her um, before we close out. But so in times like this, like, you know, we have so many different things going on. We have COVID, we have the racial protests, and how have you processed that as a Black woman with a chronic illness? Like, do you feel compelled to go out and protest and risk your health, or are you wanting to stay in because you know that the potential, you know, danger that you could be putting yourself in a mental space? You know, we talked about how we'll like to isolate in general. Has COVID had any like mental effects for you as far as being too alone and too isolated? Anything you can share on that?
Me personally, I don't feel like I'm not gonna say I wouldn't be affected by COVID, but as far as that goes, I'm definitely want to protect myself and make sure that I'm protected as much as I can. But when it comes to everything going on, especially with my people and the individuals that are involved, I would definitely love to protest and go out there and be with them as much as I can. And I would love to join the protest. It just hasn't. Every time they have one close to me, I always find out after the fact.
Mhm.
So um, I'm very much aware of, what's going on. And it really just saddens me, like, especially with somebody who has a disability and being a Black woman and, having all these different things. So it's kind of a struggle because, you have to be on two sides of the spectrum. You support this and you support this, you know. So
Right.
it's kind of integrating both together. And I'm not sure if that makes sense, but it's like
It
because you
does.
have so many sisters on this side and you have so many sisters on this side. So, and you're trying to make sense of it all at the same time.
Yeah,
So,
it is a lot to digest. I agree.
yeah.
And I
So
did
that's
have
what.
another question because
Mhm.
I was recently approached by another blogger who actually wants me to like write a post for them, just talking about what it means to be Black and chronically ill in this type of environment. And one of the things I was researching is just the systemic mistreatment of Black women in healthcare, specifically as it relates to like childbirth and, you know, just our pain levels and different things. Have you personally encountered any situations where you felt like you were treated differently because you were Black, or that they didn't necessarily take your um, concerns seriously?
I think sometimes yes, like when you go into the doctor, sometimes they don't always want to hear what you have to say and they kind of overlook what you have to say. But sometimes you have to make your voice heard. Like, no, you need to listen to me and hear what I have to say. But the way to be heard is to know what you're talking about. Like you said, you're going in and doing research and you understand what you have to say. Every time when I had a crisis or something like that and I went into the hospital, I would tell them what's going on. Okay, this is what I need, this is what I can't have, this is myasthenia to me. And they would say, you're very knowledgeable. Yeah, because you got to know about what's going on with you because it belongs to you and this is my disorder. So, you know, that's what I feel like as the people that we need to know. We need to know more about, what's going on, especially if we're disabled and you're dealing with this disability and you're a Black African American woman and what's going on in the world with women, in general, in healthcare, men and women. So it needs to be talked about. It needs to be heard because we're not always taken care of properly in neighborhoods. Because you
Yeah,
hear about it all the time.
we do it all the time. And even though these are like really, really uh, tense times, I feel like they're good conversation starters. That's what's needed. We got to shake the table a little bit if we're ever going to have change, if we're ever going to be what we envision this world to be. So I think that's pretty dope. And to anybody, any woman that's out there, anybody that's out there, and if you do go to a doctor and you're expressing some type of ailment or concerns to them, and the doctor kind of just, you know, nudges you or just kind of blows you off, all you have to do is tell the doctor, make sure you notate this in my chart. and because it has to be notated. If they have to notate in their chart that you explained that you were having something and they basically neglected it, because then that puts them liable. And 9 times out of 10, the doctor may say, "Oh, well, you know what? Let me give you this," because they don't want to be the person that has the record of saying, "Oh, well, she complained about heart palpitations and I told her sleep it off." Like, so we have to go in and we have to hold these people accountable. We are paying their salaries. We are paying jobs that
Right.
is, we are working at jobs, is paying their insurance, paying co-pays, co-insurance. Like, you have the right to request service and get it done. Like, that's what we're paying them for. So I don't know if that was for
Exactly.
anybody, if you need some help, but that's a little tidbit. So that's all I have. Did you have anything for me? I don't think we have any. Oh, Anthony said, "What's the name, the term for the illness?" So we actually both have myasthenia gravis, MG for short. Just make it easy on yourself.
MG.
And it's a neuromuscular autoimmune disease, so it affects your voluntary muscles. So anything that you can like control. So eyebrows, eyes, smiling, talking, chewing, swallowing, breathing, moving your arms and legs, even your like holding up your
Your
neck.
neck.
Anything that you can kind of say, "Hey, I want to do this and do," it has the potential to affect. So it's pretty
Right.
scary at times, especially when you get into the more like breathing issues. Um, yeah, that'll send you to a crisis automatically, and then you may have to be intubated and yes, tons of that. Okay, I don't see any other questions. Do you have any questions for me or anything else you want to discuss or any words, last words for the group?
No questions, but I will be talking to you about that entrepreneur thing. That's for sure. And I
Definitely.
just appreciate you having me on, and it's been fun.
I appreciate you. You know, believe it or not, people don't want to be interviewed. I don't know if they don't want to be interviewed or so much they're just, shy. I know for a long time I was still processing what was happening, so I didn't really want to talk about it with anybody, let alone like a platform for a whole bunch of people to say. So, everything in your own time. But I definitely appreciate you and your
Right.
candor and oh, and I appreciate so you guys, I don't know if you saw. Let me see if I can add this. I don't know how to do it. Oh, I don't think I can say it. I wanted to show you guys a video that Jasmine and I did for MD Awareness Month because June is my MD Awareness Month, and our color is teal. And we just talking all about MD and just raising awareness because it is a rare autoimmune disease. Um, where I think, who is it? 7%? What was the percentage? It's a small percentage of people who actually have MG, and
Right.
Jasmine's even more rare because she had a thymoma. I'm even more rare because I'm musk positive. Like it's called a snowflakes disease because within the disease everybody is just a little bit different.
It's
So like a
different.
snowflake. So it's crazy over here. Like it's ghetto. So yeah. But I can't get the video to come up like I wanted to. But it is on my Instagram page. Did you post it on yours as well?
I did for it coming up, but I will after this.
Okay. Yeah, so check it out. It was just something fun, and Jasmine was gracious enough to participate because I'm always coming up with like a whole bunch of ideas, and I put the filler out there. Jasmine was like, "Sure, girl, I got you," and she was serving in the video. It was a good time. But thank you so much again. I really, really appreciate it. Please do reach out to me. We can help you with your dissertation, and if you give me some more words of encouragement to do my own.
Thank you.
And thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next time.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.